Boys, come on.
This is not fair. How can I just come? Okay, anyway. Hi guys. Hi. I'm so sorry I'm late. I expected to be late anyway because I didn't want to come too early and everyone came late. So. Well, I'm here now. My name is Lisette Mibo. I'm a model and I'm from Congo. It's a pleasure to be here today, and what is more amazing is this event because it just shows, you know, us Congolese, we're working hard and it's just amazing. But before I begin, I would like to thank Francine and the whole team behind this event. You guys have thought it very well. I'm just going to talk a bit about me, you know, how I started and stuff like that. Well, I started modeling in 2007. I was scouted by a photographer / choreographer, and yeah, he trained me very well. But then I didn't take it very seriously because obviously I was studying, I was in college, you know, but and then along the way, in 2010, I fell pregnant, and I was university at the same time, so I had to put modeling on hold. But then again, soon after I gave birth, 4 months, I had to go back to modeling. That was last year, 2011, and being with the right people, you know, in the industry, I bounced it back and I got signed and everything. Just been amazing, really. Thank you. But apart from modeling, I do have other goals, I can imagine. That's why I studied criminology. And but also, I'm also a human rights campaigner because I campaign against all the injustice that is happening back in Congo. And that's why I joined Save the Congo team. So that obviously we have to work together into promoting all the, you know, unfairness things happening back home there. And together I know we can do something and something's going to happen. And even if it's going to take long, yeah, but it does not matter because even if we don't benefit from it, our next generation, our children's generation, the children of our children will benefit from it. You look at people like Lumumba, Martin Luther King, they didn't live to see it, but we are seeing it now. So that's just a word of encouragement for all my brothers and sisters in Save the Congo working hard, you know, yeah. I also want to say just a big thank you to everyone who has inspired me. That includes my mother, hardworking, she's in university now, so she's working really hard, and every woman and our men too, let's not forget them. And yeah, but before I finish, as I would just like to take this opportunity because I do receive a lot of messages from young girls, you know, asking me, oh, I want to get into modeling, what do I do, how do I do it, and stuff like that. But I just want to say that modeling is a very tough industry, it's very competitive, and therefore before you start in it, you have to do a research about it, know what kind of industry you get into, and all that involved in it. And obviously from there you can decide like the kind of type of modeling you want to do and stuff like that. But it's not impossible as anything else. It's not impossible. Just follow your dream. If the passion is there, there's nothing can stop you really. So I'm always here, even though a little bit busy. You can catch me on Twitter at Lisette with my full name, or on Facebook. Drop me a message, and I'll send you tips on what to do and stuff like that. Thank you so much, guys. I'm sorry I'm rushing. I'm here now.
Thank you. That was Lisette, obviously looking really pretty. You know, is there anyone got a question to ask Lisette? You know, how she actually got to where she is now? Anyone? I just want to know if anyone's got a question for her.
I have. How do you manage motherhood and working classhood?
Oh, Nadesh. Well, first of all, I've got support. You see, I've got my family who are always ready there to support me and with the child and stuff like that. So that is the number one, because if it wasn't without them, it would be really hard because childcare is very expensive and that would have been a barrier. And also, it's just hard work and be able to manage yourself and organize yourself. Let's say, for instance, if I have a job at 9 o'clock, I have to wake up at 5 in the morning, get everybody ready, get everything ready, and then leave. So it's just about organizing yourself very well, and yeah.
Thank you very much. Anyone else?
Where do you want to gain information?
That's a very tricky question. Well, it depends. Do you mean as a model?
Yeah, as a model.
As a model, obviously, you want to be international, you want to be booked for all the international jobs, you want to get into mainstream, you want to get signed to a bigger agency, you just want it all, the billboards, front covers, everything. A lot of foundation, whatever I can give back. It's not just me being successful and that's it. I have to give back. Yeah.
I think there's a gentleman there who needs to ask you.
Go on, please.
Just about modeling. As Africans, we African parents or our parents, when we talk about modeling, is to portray. So, how do you try to stay away from all these stereotype things we have that happen within the modeling industry? All those type of things. So how do you manage to stay away from all these?
Thank you so much for the question. The question is very important, although, it's uncomfortable, it is important. Every issue must be addressed. Thank you for that. I would say that, yes, the stereotype is there. There's drugs, there's sex, there's, all the bad influential stuff that's going on but what's the most important is that it goes back to your background, how you are well brought up, how you are. It's all down to family, how well you are trained. Yeah, I'm a model, but I'm a mother, I'm engaged, I'm graduate, I've got a good family that I look back, So it all depends. It's depending how much you blow, how much you're out there. It is hard. Even life in general in the UK, even our children, they're not models, but they are exposed to sex, to clubs, to friends, to weeds, to everything. So the world itself here in the West, there's a lot of bad influence. But with being in the modeling industry, it just makes you're just more exposed. But I hope with God and my family, they'll keep me together and I'll be able to manage. Thank you guys, thank you.
Any more questions now? Should we move on? Right, thank you, Lizette. Obviously, you got. He's an entrepreneur and he's a financial credit broker. His name is Belgi Alido. Where's Belgi Alido? Belgi Alido and Shadrach. Mbote. I have to speak in Congolese, We were born here, but we have to honor. In fact, can I just start because I feel privileged to have my dad here. I have to give him credit. You can't stand and speak and not give credit to where credit is due, How can I teach you something that he's taught me? You see, so I have to make sure you all understand where I'm coming from. A little bit about myself. In our family, there was about 10 of us. So if you can imagine, there was a big family. And growing up, you always having to fight in a sense of who's going to do what. I remember in the morning when you're going to school, it's like you have to wait to have a shower. So it was kind of challenging, but one thing stood out is the fact that I knew I wanted to be the one that made it. I wanted to be the one that set an example. And I grew up in my community. There was not much inspiration, obviously, except my parents. I looked around to say, is there any other Congolese people in this country that are doing well? Who can I learn from? English, obviously, for our parents was very difficult, as you can understand, with language barriers. So during GCSE, I was always struggling because I had no one to sort of communicate or connect
My dad could help me with, maths. They're very good at maths, right? Yes. Very, very good. But when it came to the English and stuff like that, I could see he was really trying, but there was always that barrier. But I learned one thing very, very, very early on, is the fact that if you need help, find help. And unfortunately, loads of you, I don't know how many of you guys are still in school, is that there was always those goody-goody kids, okay? Those kids that no one wanted to sit next to them, the ones that they call them geek. I said, you know what, if these people are getting A's, why can't I get A? So I learned very quickly, you know what, I'm going to sit next to these people, because they want friends, you see? They want someone that can be there. I was the cool kid, a little bit cool kid, so I thought, you know what, let me give them credibility so that they can help me. You see how it works? So then that's how I did it. So I would sit next to them, it's like, okay, please help me. My friends will be teasing me, but I knew one thing, I said, you know what, you can laugh at me now, and you can tease me now, but let's see at the end of the day, who has the last laugh. And that's how it came. So that's GCSE board, and then A-levels came again, same thing, trying to find out how to do it. But again, A-levels finished, I done it. University came, same thing. You just have to learn from whatever you can learn. Find inspiration in the little places. And I realized one straight thing is the fact that Nigerians, in fact, also, can I honor my wife? Can I honor my wife, my beautiful wife? Please stand up, please. I learned very quickly that there was a culture that were very aggressive and they wanted to aspire, and that was the Nigerian. I learned a lot from them, is the fact that they encourage their kids to learn and to aspire and I said, you know what, why can't we do this? And I started learning from them. I started hanging about with them, going to them, because you learn from different cultures. And let me just ask you guys a question. If you had £1 million now, what would you do with it?
Buy a Ferrari. Win a small color.
It's good. I can see everyone's really thinking very carefully now, because you're thinking £1 million, there's so many things I can do. But what happens if you had what you just have now? What would you do with it? See, it's easy to think when you got £1 million, but what would you do with what you have right now? That's a different mindset. You see, it's just the way you start thinking. Right now, let me introduce you to someone that can actually teach you guys, what you can do with just what you have, what your skills can do. Yeah, let me introduce my business partner, Shadrach.
I feel a bit sad right now because I have no one to honor. Thanks, Belgie, for the introduction. Let me tell a brief little story. I'm 19 years old. Why does everyone look so shocked? I got passports, Okay. So basically 3 years ago, I was working in the youth centre in South London for £3.53 an hour. At the end of the month, I would get a cheque for £70. Can you imagine that? So, I've always been a bit of a rebel. It's worked in my favour and it's worked without my favour, but I was always willing to do something different. I can't go into too much detail, I've got limited times. But I'll tell you one thing right now, it is a skill to be at the right place at the right time. So it's a skill. It's persistence, that's the skill. So just do it. But I managed to get sponsored by Virgin Media for my business idea at the age of 18. Business started and running, so I just kept applying like crazy to grants. My parents weren't going to back me financially because they didn't think it made sense, particularly fashion. Anyone tried to start up a clothing line or something like that? Okay, yeah. Your parents didn't back you, did they? So yeah, I just continued and pushing, and then eventually, after I got rejected from one particular fund, I just networked like crazy. I was just angry, so I just thought, I'm going to talk to this person, I'm going to hassle this person. And on Virgin entrepreneurial website, they actually noticed that I probably sent a message to almost everyone. And so they made me Entrepreneur of the Week. And I was like, wow. And then they entered me into the Entrepreneur of the Month competition, and the winner got to meet Richard Branson. I won it by the grace of God and help from some university friends. And after that, it's all history. Everything that I ever wanted in terms of finance, I was able to get. I was sitting down in the, there's a place in central London where all the managing directors of Tesco, Sainsbury's, and
Institute of Directors.
Yes, that's it. Institute of Directors. I was sitting down in the Institute of Directors with a guy called Nathaniel Pete, who was basically wanting me to write an autobiography and wanting me to write some books, and I was like, it just didn't add up. Long story short now, just based on following, not my principles, but following my goals and my dreams. I'm able to call myself a financial credit broker, letting agent, marketing consultant, motivational speaker, and a lot of other titles. But one thing I want to tell you right now is the titles are not important. The titles it means absolutely nothing. One thing that is very important is if you have an idea and you know how to market that idea, then you can go for it. I'm going to run out of time quickly, so I'm going to say one thing that I want everyone to know right now is, right now, every single person in this room is an entrepreneur and a businessman. The reason why I say that is because every single person's goal is to make more money and less finances. The only thing that is stopping you is how people perceive you, and idea creations and a couple of other things. So what I do right now is, after achieving what I wanted to achieve, and basically some things, I set up a company basically helping young people to start up businesses. From idea creation, literally I've got a process where you just tell me what you like, what you're interested in, where you want to go, what your character's like, and I create a business that's specific for you, that you're motivated about and that you can work with. I help you with finance, particularly anyone between the ages of 11 and 30. Raise your hand, please. There's funds available. So there's funds available for you right now to start your own business for free if you just know how to get. I'm running out of time, so I don't know. Yeah, anyone that wants to speak to me, my email addresses are there. Actually, just come talk to me. Just come talk to me. Why?
So, as you heard, if you got an idea, in fact, let me ask about mama, about papa. There's something that they do called likelemba. Do you guys know that? The thing is, it's simple. It's literally saving money, right? They save money, and at the end, they get the money chunk. What if we can show you how you can, rather than just save, but that saving can add interest? Can I introduce you to someone that can actually speak to him after, Samsung? He can actually help you, rather than you just doing the likelemba, he can help you with your saving to multiply on top of it. So, and also let me take this opportunity to also say, what if, yes, you can make part-time the income that you're making full-time at your current job? Would you be interested? Yes. Of course you would. Let me introduce you one right now. I'm so excited, guys, because I want you guys to get pen and paper ready, because everything this person is about to say, I want you guys to listen. Because he's someone that's really motivating me. He's someone that I actually look up to. He's an author, and he's an entrepreneur, motivational speaker. He's traveled around the world. Seriously, guys, he's stood and spoken to higher level people. Many people whom you guys will probably know. But let me not say too much. He himself will introduce. Like I said, get your pen and paper ready, because we are in a networking event. Listen, learn, and put to practice. Kapesh?
All right, thank you very much for that introduction. Good evening, everybody. Good evening. What an amazing evening, right? Who's having fun tonight? I love it. So, before I start anything about myself, I think everyone that went before me deserves a very, very warm round of applause. So, I'm also 19. I had to try, right? I was once, many, many years ago. My story starts when I was born in East Africa, born in Kenya, and at the age of 1, my parents decided, for whatever amazing reason, that they would come to a country where there was no sunshine and lots of miserable people, in exchange for a country that was always sunny with lots of happy people. So I had the pleasure of being brought up in England, and they chose the best location they could in England, according to their budget, which was East London. Does anyone come from East London? I'm not going to say too much, but you don't want to live there for too long, right? So I grew up in those streets, and it was interesting watching other people grow up in the same environment. But somebody said something earlier about parents. I think it was actually yourself who just mentioned about the importance of upbringing, and so did Lizelle as well, talk about the importance of your parents and the upbringing that you have. And I was blessed to have the best parents on planet Earth. And so I've got a younger brother, 2 years younger, and they brought us up not to be affected by our environment. Because the masses are easily affected, aren't they? The masses are followers. We were trained to be leaders. And so from a very young age, our parents told us that, listen, out there, the area that we're in, there are people that do all the things that we are not about. You know, we stand for a lot more than that. So don't get involved in, you know, the drugs, the drinking, the smoking, and all these things that other kids got involved in. And so as we were growing up in East London, I remember I was about 8 years old, and one of my best friends at school offered me a cigarette. Now here's what was really interesting. Me being was it you that said you were a bit of a rebel? You've got no idea. Being the rebel that I was, even though I had phenomenal training, got tempted. And I remember that I took a pull on the cigarette, coughed like my body just said, what the hell are you trying to do? But just my luck would have it, at that point, one of the teachers came in to the corridor that we were stood in. And I got caught with the cigarette in my hand. I'm not going to tell you what happened that evening at home, because today's illegal. But let's just say that I learned from my lesson. Never touched a cigarette again for the rest of my life. So, you know, it started very early. Growing up in that environment was great. But one of the things that I was always really kind of at the forefront of my mind, I was always focused on, was winning. And I remember, you know, growing up, about 10 or 11 years old, and we went to a wedding, and one of my uncles turned up in a Rolls Royce. Now here's what was really interesting. My dad, my mum, myself, and my brother turned up in an old, battered, rusty car. It was called a Corsair. They looked nice on the outside, but nothing to be impressed about. So we pulled up, and I remember saying to my dad, as we pulled up to the wedding that we went to the wedding, and I said to my dad, Dad, how comes Uncle's got a Rolls Royce? Why don't we get one of those? Because in the kids' world, there's no limitations. Are you with me? I don't know the concept of money. I'm just like, hey, listen, that car looks funky. Why haven't we got one? And I remember my dad said something that stayed with me, stayed with that 10-year-old boy to this day. He said, your uncle has his own business, and I work for somebody else. Interesting, isn't it? And I thought, could it be that simple? Could it be that most people that live in beautiful mansions, have all the supercars, and travel more than they work, just had their own business? And everyone else had a job. Is it possible? I don't know, let's test this. I'm not one for making random statements. Let's test it. Who knows people that work hard in a job for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, and retire with none of the above? Who knows people like that? Wow. And who knows people that start out young, and between the age of 30 or 40, have nice cars, beautiful homes, and a great lifestyle? Who knows people like that as well? Isn't that interesting? So I cottoned on to this really early on. Now the evidence, and this is really important, because most people don't reach for success because they don't have evidence around them. We are so constantly looking for evidence. The references that you have are dependent on the people that you spend your time with. So I often tell people I can predict your bank balance to the nearest £100. I don't need to know how educated you are. I don't need to know how high your position is at work. I don't even need to know, like how much you make every year. Here's all I want to know. Who are your 5 closest friends? Promise you, your bank balance won't rise much further than your kid would. Wow. And I'm thinking, if it was true that to raise the bar you just had to hang around people that had a higher standard, then why not raise the bar, right? So as I was growing up, I learned these things. Now here's the thing, there were correlations between that and what my dad was teaching me. My dad used to say things like, when I was going to school, listen, aim for A's. Whoever heard that? Is that the black community as well? Big time in the community. It's all about A's. If you get a B, you're in big trouble. B was for big trouble. So aim for A's. And it was like, at the time I probably couldn't appreciate as much as I do now, but my dad used to say that cream always rises to the top and lead always sinks to the bottom. And he'd say, learn to be like the cream. Learn to see what you can do to rise above your peer group. Lead others, don't follow them. He was always saying things like this. And I can now appreciate a lot more what he was talking about. Long story short, at the age of 11, my dad now made the transition from having worked in a job for the first 10 years in this country for minuscule wages. He managed to put together a little bit of money. He borrowed some money from his brothers, his sisters and friends and family, and from the bank. And he risked everything. Both him and my mum gave up their jobs and they bought a shop. I was 10 years old. And I remember I was about 13 or 14 and everything was different. So it took 3 or 4 years to see the lifestyle change, the standard change. But the decision they made to make the move initially was a lot tougher than it was when they had the job. Because now they owed people money and the business wasn't doing as well as they thought it would, and it was all kind of all over the place. But they rode the storm, they weathered the stormy weather, and they came out the other side. And I remember when I was about 13 or 14 and things got a little bit better. And I remember we went to a restaurant. We'd never been to a restaurant until I was about 14 years old. We go to cafes and stuff, but I'm talking about restaurant. I'm talking about where you walk in and they take your coat, where they pull the chair for you to take a seat. I'm talking about that. And it was like, wow, things like this exist. We didn't know until then. It was like, this is really odd. And I remember I was about 15 and my dad bought a car, brand new one. Now all the cars he had previous were, oftentimes back when it was me and my brother pushing the car in. Keep pushing, it'll start in a minute. And this new car smelled new. Who knows the smell of a new car? They actually smell new. I thought that was a concept. But you sit inside and the first thing is and it was new and it was his own. And all of this happened because he had a business. And now you've got a 15-year-old kid that's already learned the difference between having a job and having a business. Now here's what I also did. At the age of 11, when he bought that business, he was a news agent, I used to buy products from my dad on credit. One day, 24 hours credit. I'd help myself to, I had one of those Puma satchel bags. I'd fill it up with Kit Kats and Mars bars and cans of Coke and Tango and all sorts of bits and pieces, go to school and sell it for cheaper than the tuck shop. Now it started off making me a few pounds here and there. By the time I was 16, I did not want to leave primary school. So here I am, going through life, and I'm 14, 15 years old, and what happened is I started compromising some decisions. I had more money than every other kid in school. Imagine that, picture it for a second. You're 15 and your pockets are full. Who would love that? It was a beautiful time, I'm not going to complain. I had all the best clothes, I had all the trimmings of life, at that tender age that you could want at that age. And all of the company that you don't want. My friends were around me because I would always be buying everything for them, right? But it didn't matter because money had no value to a 15-year-old, and I found it really easy to make money. It wasn't a problem. In fact, I started doing things that my parents taught me not to do. Again, I fell off track for a little while. Temptation got the better of me. And so again, one of the important lessons I learned is the importance of focusing on the end in mind and not where you are in the present moment. Is that making sense? Where I was in the present moment was full pockets and no end in mind. And so what I did is I started buying stolen goods because the margins were higher. So I was now encouraging some of my friends to go to the local Safeways and Sainsbury's and nick things from there, whatever they could, and I would buy it from them at a fraction of the price, and I'd sell it to other people that had a little bit of desire for the products that I had. Does that make sense? And so then I got into car stereos, and I'd have people going out, breaking into cars, bringing me stereos. And it went in a whole different tangent. But I was making so much money. I remember, by the time I was 16, I was making about 800 to 1,000 pounds a month, just doing a little bit of trading here and there. And back then, we're talking about 25 years ago, 800 to 1,000 pounds a month was a hell of a lot of money 25 years ago. Some people think it's a hell of a lot of money today, but that's a whole different story. But back then, so all of a sudden, we've got this kid that's making all this money, but no values. And what happened is a friend of mine came to my dad's shop one day and said, hey, listen, is Calpesh home? My dad said, yes, he is. Why, who are you? My name's Steve, I need to see him. My dad said, why? I've never seen you before, I know his friends. is, well, I've got this diamond ring, and it needs to be sold real quick, and it's worth £2,000. I only want 300 for it, and I know Calvus will buy it. I'm not going to tell you what happened that night. But I got out of the commodities business and got back to study. But here's what I learned, is that making money is not difficult. Making money really isn't. There is opportunity to make more than all of us do, everywhere. There's not lack of opportunity. There's lack of mindset, your own mindset, kind of accepting that there's opportunity around. So I'm going to do a quick test before I finish off because we're running out of time. But who here, if you knew without a shadow of a doubt that you could double your income in the next 12 months, who would do it? Look around. What did I say? Look at the words. If you knew without a shadow of a doubt, who would do it? So who's stopping you? It's your own doubts. Because here's the question. Are there people less skilled, less educated, in a lesser environment, with less opportunity around them in this world, that earn double what you earn? Yes. Hello? The only person that stops you from reaching out to your true potential is you. There's nobody else. Be accountable. Make a decision. Choose to succeed. See, success is a decision. It's a choice. It's not something that happens because you buy a lottery ticket, contrary to popular belief. Successful people don't buy lottery tickets. Poor people do. Somebody asked a question, if you had £1 million, what would you do? And somebody said, buy a Ferrari. Nothing wrong with buying Ferraris, but here's what I've learned. Rich people invest their money, poor people spend it. See, the only time you should be driving a Ferrari, or any, in my case, I prefer a Porsche, but never mind, we'll stick with the Ferrari. The only time you drive cars like that is when the interest that you're making on your investments pays for it.
Yeah.
Is that making sense?
Yeah.
And so learning some of these basic principles of how to win, it's not difficult to multiply money, it's not difficult to earn more than you currently earn, it's not difficult to save. Savings is the foundation of success. Most people are in negative bank balances and they're talking of success. Well, step 1, get rid of your debts. Step 2, save. Step 3, invest. And now you're on track. Is this making sense? Yes. And so I learned these little things in tweak, and I was retired by the time I was 30 years old. Who'd like to retire at 30? See, out there they tell you you've got to wait till you get too late. So, I'm timed out, but I love now sharing the strategies that I've learned, the success techniques that are available to the masses to start with nothing. If you could start with nothing, and a year from now be £5,000 to £10,000 better off, and 2 years from now be £20,000 a year better off, and 3 years from now be £40,000 or £50,000 a year better off, would you be willing to sit down and learn what the path to that kind of success is? Who'd be willing to learn that process? It beats any university degree I've ever seen. And so that's what I teach. If you're interested, I've got cards. If you want to buy one of my success books, I've co-authored with some great people. Become rich when? No. See, gone are the days when you work a lifetime for some money. Here's another one. Multiple streams of inspiration. Stories from people around the world that are evidence that anybody can do it. And sometimes that's what we need. We need to hear it from a third party, another story, somebody outside of ourselves, to give us the resolve, the belief, the faith to say, you know what, me too. Why not me? And so on that note, I want to thank you for listening. I hope that was great for you.
Round of applause for Benny and Shadrach. Must say that was very
But again, thank you guys so much for coming. Thank you for support. Make sure you write your name on our signing sheet so we can keep you updated what's going on. We do a lot of employment, helping graduates, student, professional get into employment in the Congolese community. Whether you're looking for a job, whether you're looking to promote your event to other people, Congolese people, we do a lot of that at the moment. So, I've got to holler us, but
sorry, I just wanted to thank every single speaker. Thank you for coming, guys. You lot have been really great. I wanted to thank you all, and most of all, I wanted to thank everybody that came to support, because it is about us trying to unite together and trying to work together, like Francine's just been saying, and how everybody here has highlighted. Don't see them just as coming to promote what they do and the achievements that they've made. See them as a young Congolese professional just like yourself. We're all ambition, and it's all about coming, uniting and working together. It's not about envying, it's about supporting one another. If you can see there's a job opportunity for a brother or sister to get, hook them up. Don't hate, hook them up. Because every other culture does the same thing. Indians do it, Pakistanis do it. That's why when you go